All right, let's do a quick overview of this kind of somewhat random smattering of tools that I've been using as part of my own self-development process. These have all provided a lot of benefit for me, and so I just wanted to riff on them a little bit to give you an idea of, hey, maybe you could pull from some of these sources of improvement. So in no particular order, let's just kind of jump in. Movement. So movement is really cool, and it encompasses kind of everything. And that's a trend here. When you dig deep in any of these, you find that they're all one thing. Anyway, movement. That could be exercise. It could be dance. It could be your posture. It could be how I'm moving in this video. It could be related to your confidence. Do you move with confidence? Do you show that you have, that you're not overly concerned about what people think, which is something that I've been working on a lot. And so for me, diving into things like dance have been immensely helpful in all areas. It makes me feel happier. It makes me more confident, and it makes me look at the world differently. And it can be a lever for initiating a phase shift. Like if you're in one kind of phase and you'd like to shift over to another. Dance, amazing. It'll get you out of a funk really quickly. Now, meditation. This is kind of on the opposite end of this spectrum, no movement. And it's so cool. So I'm just getting started. I'm just really starting to see the benefit of meditation. And I've only been doing it kind of quasi-seriously for, I don't know, a month or something, but really cool. And it's cool because it is opening up my mind in ways that I find really interesting. And it's also it's a way of showing myself that I'm worth some time just for me, that I have value without anything else external, that even just sitting there is valuable to me and ultimately to the people around me, because I end up in a better mood, I end up more focused and with less stress. That's kind of a big one for that, is it's a stress reducer for me. Like while I am meditating, there's something going on in there where it's processing things that then leave as like, taking the trash out and it's gone. So really cool. And it also helps me feel feelings. Now, I love how all of these are like the most important. When it comes down to it, it's like, yes, this is the one, and it's all of them. Feeling feelings. Now, I would say that up until fairly recently, I had been somewhat emotionally constipated. It's like the things that I wasn't letting out were just kind of collecting and getting bigger and bigger. And then when they did come out, it hurt. And it wasn't fun. And it's just like a whole lot all at once. And I probably shouldn't take the toilet analogy too far. But I was afraid of my feelings, which meant that I didn't get them out. And feelings, I don't know how to put this except that feelings need to be felt. And growing up, especially as a guy in this culture, I didn't get the tools to just allow feelings to happen. I didn't get that as a skill. In fact, the skills that I picked up were, how can I bottle this up? How can I hide it? How can I prevent everyone else from seeing what I'm feeling? That's the skill that I got. And now that I'm getting reacquainted with this, I'm finding that here's a truth for me that has been so valuable, and that is there are no bad feelings, that feelings need to be felt, and that feeling anything, sadness or anger or joy, that those are all necessary to feel if you have it in you, needing to be felt. And so if I have, a meditation session and then I feel some feelings coming, now I can just let them come and I don't have to bottle them up. And that might mean something like crying. And now I kind of love crying. It still kind of hurts. I still basically hide it. I do it in private, but it's getting so much better, and it feels so good to get a cry out. And because of the emotional constipation thing that I mentioned earlier, I think there's a big backlog of crying, and I don't think I'm done, and I don't think I'll ever be done, really. There'll always be more reasons to cry, but I'm dropping the shame associated with crying, that I associated with crying. And there's just the change day before crying and day after crying. It's night and day. And the day after crying, a big cry, the kind of cry where you just really lose it, that's an amazing day, that day after. It's everything that I want to feel happens after the crying. And so, God, I hope if there are guys watching this that aren't crying, they don't feel free to cry, or that crying is just inaccessible to them. That is such an amazing place to find real benefit, real strength, real joy. The feel-good feelings come after crying, in my experience. Okay, let's move on to, let's just do sleep real quick. It's not I'm not going to spend much time on it. It's obviously important. And for me, I did have undiagnosed insomnia. I didn't get it checked by a doctor or anything, but I went through a period of time of several years where sleeping really sucked. And at its worst, I was afraid of nighttime. If I turn this into a clock, with our hours here, I was when the hand started getting over here, when it was like 5 o'clock, I would start getting anxious, like, oh my God, it's almost nighttime. I'm not gonna sleep. Oh God. And it was agony. I hated night because I'd end up not sleeping. And it was just like, it was painful to be that sleep deprived. Buddy, things improved a little bit when I started embracing it. And I just was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to enjoy myself at night when I can't sleep. And what that ended up turning into was sort of like, I would listen to music and I would dance around and I would maybe clean, do something productive so that at least the next day when I was kind of wrecked from not sleeping, at least there was some positive part of that I got out of the deal. And that helped reduce some of the anxiety. But the thing that actually did it, I think the biggest factor was actually this. And similar to sleep, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on food, but I made some food changes that completely changed my health picture. It changed sleep. It changed just how my gut felt. It changed my level of depression and anxiety. It changed my sex drive. It changed my poop. It changed everything. I've talked about it before on my channel, but basically I started the carnivore diet. It's been 4 years now. I'm not 100%, but I'm close enough to 100% to know that it's a really good way of eating for me. And it solved a lot of problems really quickly. But one of them was sleep. I started sleeping fantastically after that diet change. Okay, let's talk about music. Now, despite growing up in a musically inclined family, I didn't really make any music. I tried, I dabbled, but none of it really stuck. And for some reason, in most of my adult life, I kind of considered music to be something just in the background. I would, it would be a passive experience for me. And it didn't really start to click until I started feeling my feelings more. And when I got more in touch with my feelings, then music started to actually matter to me. And I went from, I would listen to music kind of in the background while I did other things, and frankly, the lyrics were kind of just like in the way. I was like, yeah, just stop with the lyrics. I don't want to hear what you have to say. Like, I just want to listen to the music. And then after feeling feelings, now I'm like, what are they saying? Oh my God, it means so much to me. And it's so funny to see how my brain has changed. Related, marijuana. I wonder, like, how okay is it to talk about drugs on your YouTube channel? I feel like that might be kind of polarizing, but oh well, here it is. Now, marijuana, I first used marijuana, I was probably in college, and it didn't do a whole lot for me. I didn't know really how to enjoy it. And I didn't even know how to use it. Like, I would either end up having not enough or too much, and it made it very difficult. It was always in like a social situation, and it made socializing harder for me. I would just get quiet and self-conscious, and I wouldn't be able to like remember what's going on. Like, we'd be playing a card game with friends or something, and then I was like, can't remember, like, oh, it's my turn, what are we doing? And it just made it weird for me. And I feel like that colored my interpretation of it for years. And then around the time that COVID hit, I got really into using marijuana as just like a routine. It was like I was stuck in my house all day, and I just kind of wanted something. It was like stress relief and entertainment, and I got to using it just daily. I had like my daily joint. And it wasn't that great. It was just kind of like, oh, it's a little better than nothing. But then when I started opening up more, like with feelings and movement and music, all of a sudden marijuana started to get a little better. It opened me up to dance. It was one of the things that really made dancing possible for me, where I started to allow my body to move, because it helps tamp down some of your inhibitions, and it tones down the left brain analyzing self-conscious thing. That's not 100% true. Some people experience more self-consciousness, but it depends on your state going into it. For me, it did a lot of opening for me. Now, I'm gonna use the marijuana to get into spirituality. Now, like a lot of these things, like meditation and marijuana and feelings, spirituality is a new thing for me. This would not be on my list like a year ago. And that makes it really exciting for me, because it's turned out to be incredibly important to me, just in the last several weeks even. And one of the things that made that possible was marijuana and the feelings, and a little bit the meditation, movement. They end up getting connected. Okay, so for me, I just kind of want to define this, because I'm so new at it. I feel like I'm not super sure what other people mean when they say spirituality. But for me, what this represents is my connection to myself, my deep self, like the things that are most important to me, the things that are kind of mysterious, my connection to, say, ancestors. And when I say that, I mean basically my dad, because he's the closest person to me that has died, and that has been a big part of this emotional opening for me, was grief. And grief ended up being this avenue, along with marijuana, put grief and marijuana together, and I started to understand spirituality. It's like, oh my God, I'm getting access to something that I just didn't know existed because I hadn't experienced it yet. So now I'm at a place where I can do some combination of let's say, these ones here. Not so much the sleep and the food thing, although I could connect them. You know what? I'll connect them real quick. Food could be connected to spirituality in a way of, say, if you abstain from food, you fast, I feel like it makes spirituality easier. It gives you access to something that you might not have if you've got a big full belly of food. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of religious practices around that, of fasting to help facilitate spirituality. Sleep, I've also found, could be connected. And sometimes in the way that you wouldn't expect. I find that if I have a poor night of sleep, sometimes that can assist with, say, feeling feelings that can lead to a spiritual experience. And for me, that looks like, oh, I don't sleep very well, and it'll make me kind of sad. It'll make me, it'll bring down my defenses, the defenses that I kind of learned culturally to put up against my own feelings. It'll lower those. So then I may be more reactive. I might get angry, might get impatient, or I might get really sad and want to cry. And so I can use that. If I don't sleep very well, I can use that as an avenue into some spirituality, getting in touch with myself, hearing what my soul has to say. And that's just amazing. I've also found a spirituality relating to place. And I'll just very briefly describe a situation where for my birthday, just recently, I smoked some marijuana and went to the beach and felt some feelings. And that led to this amazing experience of being able to feel deeply and have those feelings be anchored to a place. And in this case, it was a secluded beach, beautiful secluded beach in my hometown. And so I got to have this epic, emotional experience out on the beach and have it be tied to a physical place, as opposed to trying to do that, here in my house, which is, it works, but boy, putting it in a grand, epic location just sent it to a whole nother level. Okay, YouTube. Here we are on YouTube. And YouTube has been, in a couple different ways, a big factor in driving my self-development. The obvious one would be I get to use it as a viewer and gain perspective. Hear other people talk, learn from them, model after them. It's an amazing resource for that. But what I actually want to talk about is the process of making videos for YouTube, because I think you could tie that to spirituality. It's a spiritual process because it helps me learn about myself. It helps me dig into myself and get better connected. And it represents me. It's an external manifestation of me. And so my channel, which needs a lot of help, it is not that great. It's just kind of this weird mishmash, and it's not very well organized and all these things, but it's also really genuine and heartfelt and raw, and there's some creativity, there's some beauty. It's me, and I like that. I like seeing something on the outside that I can go, yeah, that's me. I do need work. I need help. I need to, there's a lot to do, but that's okay. It's still a beautiful process. And putting myself out there ends up becoming this spiritual process, this practice of mine that I really find valuable. And I do recommend it, along with any of these things. I recommend exploring it. How can putting yourself out there and making things, how can that turn into a wonderful avenue of self-development? And then, just because it's the last one, we're going to talk about help. And for me, what I think of when I see that is when I when I asked someone to be my coach, to help me in this process. And that was in a way, that was a big moment for me, because it was a big step in shedding this cultural resistance to asking for help. And it's especially tied to men, where there's this just kind of deep down resistance to being like, hey, I can't do this by myself. Can you help me? And I actually took a screenshot of the text that I sent this person. Because it was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask a men's coach to help me. And I love that moment exists, that I have that screenshot of that moment where I said, hey, I'd like to do this. And it's really important because it sped everything up. Where before it was kind of random and abstract, and I didn't know how to contextualize what I was going through, and how to frame it, and how to move forward. I didn't have somebody to guide me. And when I did that, when I started the process of effectively becoming of getting a mentor. That's what it is. I hired a mentor. And wait, am I getting that backwards? Is the mentor? Yeah, the mentor is the person I'm the mentee. My coach is the mentor. Anyway, I love getting on my Zoom calls with my mentor, with my coach, because it's always illuminating. Always. Like every time I come into it, and I don't know exactly where it's going to go. But by the end of the call, I'm like, holy shit. Like things have shifted, and I've got homework to do. I've got perspectives on things that happened, and I've got ways of moving forward, ways of, interpreting what I'm experiencing. And it's so damn helpful to talk to someone that has traversed the terrain that you are trying to traverse, that you're trying to navigate. It's like you're out backpacking, there's no trail, or there's a lot of trails and you can't pick which one. It's really helpful in those circumstances to talk to someone that is familiar with the landscape. And so asking for help, man, that might be the most important one, because it'll lead to all of the others. If you get help from somebody that has done it, then you have the master key. You've got access to everything. Now, it was not, it's actually a good thing that I did that last, because it wasn't the first thing that I did. Now, things would have moved faster if it was, but for me, it was a different order. And that's okay. I am not early to this game. In fact, I feel like I'm quite late. By the way, I turned 40, so yes, late. Anyway, quick overview of some things that really made things change for me, that shifted things, that I'm excited about now. And I just wanted to give you a chance to see what was important in my self-development journey so far, what I'm thinking about right now. And hope that helps. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here and hope you have a great day. See ya.